Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Telling Tales. Here we tell atmospheric stories together through the medium of tabletop role-playing games. It's Monday night, and it's a special Monday night because our Call of Cthulhu game finished. So now we're going to be running a new game called Shadows of Esteren, which is from a French company called Studio Agate, or Agate RPG, I think is their sort of sub RPG brand, and it's a low fantasy game with some sort of folk horror influences and Celtic influences, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited. So I'm going to be running the adventure from this prologue book. Isn't the artwork nice? We're also trialing going stream managerless starting from this evening, so that'll be fun. Below the video, we have links to our YouTube if you're watching this on Twitch, or Twitch if you're watching on YouTube, our social media, Twitter and Instagram, our Discord if you want to come join that and chat to us and the other lovely people who hang out in the Discord, then you should definitely do that. And also our Patreon, which if you enjoy the shows that we do on the channel, you can have different levels of subscription to get different things, ranging from access to bits of our Discord that you wouldn't otherwise have access to for things like behind the scenes information and ahead of time information and that kind of stuff, all the way to Matt, who runs other games on the channel, running a game for you and your friends once a month, which would be loads of fun. Other things on the channel, Wednesday nights, Matt runs Simba Room, which is a free league game, very good. And starting on Thursdays next week, Matt is going to be running a big, sprawling World of Darkness game that takes in 5 of the World of Darkness systems, I think. Yeah, that's going to be really cool, and everybody on the team, I think, is very excited for it. And on the first Saturday of every month, we have a different one-shot run by different people, different games, different players. So far, we've had Alien, Troika, Morkborg, Fiasco, The Expanse, Honey Heist, The One Ring, Dungeon World, Wander Home, and the next one is on Saturday, the 6th of November, and shamelessly cashing in on the Hollywood cash cow, Chris is going to be running June, which is really exciting. And then in December, we're going to be having a vote for a sequel to one of the one-shots that we've run this year. So come join the Discord, and then you can have your say as to which game you want a sequel to in a vote-like fashion. So I guess without further ado, the game will begin. The characters find themselves in a a little mountain chapel dedicated to the temple. They have come in here on their way to the village of Melwan, which is just below the orange line in the middle there, in a mountainous area. Just at the top there under the orange line, Melwan. So they have been at another village which is not on the map, which is just to the west of there, called Derg. They find themselves in this mountain chapel, getting out of the cold and the snow. Let's bring on Justin. Hi, Justin. Tell us a little about your character. Tell us a little about your character.
Well, I'm playing Fulga, who is a knight of some low nobility, who is heading between the various dukedoms of this area, trying to find a court at which he would be well placed. So Fulga is a man of conviction, but also used to kind of the traveling and martial life.
Nice. So Fulga probably, I imagine, bumped into the other characters, kind of wasn't aware of any of the other characters before sort of arrival in Melwan, I imagine.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. You know, I think they've just seen the dukedoms to the west. I think is Dulg or something like that.
Yeah.
Not really taken a liking to it and decided to head back this way. So yeah, I might have interacted with the other players or the other characters on the road somewhat, but otherwise this would be pretty much the first time.
Cool. Let's add in Inga, who plays Sophia. Hi, Inga.
Hiya.
Tell us a little about your character.
Yeah, so Sophia is Tarish, so she is part of sort of, sorry, this is a cat knocking webcams. Already getting disruptive. So Sophia is part of the Tarish people, so leading quite a nomadic lifestyle, but she does not travel with her clan. She travels mostly alone or with other kind of people she picks up along the way and sort of finding little temporary clans, I guess, as she kind of travels, as in her role as a Varigol, which for her is very much a sort of messenger. She's traveling anyway. She's traveling kind of all across this map, and so taking messages and packages and things like that wherever she can find work. So she's probably a bit kind of scruffy and not terribly well presented. Definitely someone who lives on the road and is sort of equipped and traveled for that and traveling lightly with just kind of what she needs. She's youngish, sort of early 20s sort of age, but quite sort of, a bit sort of maybe a bit weather beaten and kind of, hardened to the outdoor lifestyle, I guess.
Speaking of age, actually, it's worth noting with regards to the system, basically all characters are sort of semi-forced into being 16 to 35, and the higher age, you sort of end up with like disadvantages, which we'll go into at points later when they crop up. But there is sort of, as with any game, the GM or leader, as it's called in Shadows of Esteren, can sort of bypass that and continue on giving pluses and minuses to people of differing ages. But
I guess as well as the disadvantages, though, you also get the capacity to have learned more, right? So you can pick up.
You do, yeah.
Skills.
Yeah, you get sort of extra skill points to add. So Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
Tell us a little about Fionn.
Yeah, so Fionn is an Ossag in heritage. So he is part of the group of they're kind of semi-nomadic peoples that kind of settle in temporary kind of settlements in the mountains in the center of
Tricazel,
thank you.
Yep.
Which is the lands of this place, this giant peninsula. They kind of still stick to the old ways, and they have their own ancient language. Well, the original language of the peninsula, I think. While a lot of other people have moved on, they're very kind of old-fashioned and are very kind of traditionally quite a warlike people as well. I think quite honor-bound. But Fionn is actually quite a small, slight man. He's got quite bright ginger hair, kind of bound in a braid, going kind of halfway down his back. He's wrapped up very warm, but he looks quite ill and sickly, pale-faced and kind of sunken eyes. He's 29, so in the scheme of 16 to 35, I guess he's ancient in this game. He also typically has a crow on his shoulder or flying nearby, who anyone who vaguely knows him, he introduces as Morag. And yeah, so he's from the Osag, and he doesn't really speak of the tribe that he's come from particularly, and I think it's quite unusual for the Osag to wander from their people. And there is also another Osag with our group who I'm very close with.
And Fionn is also a Demorthan.
Yes, sorry, I should have
Which,
mentioned that.
so Demorthan in Shadows of Esteren are sort of your druid characters. They can communicate with the nature spirits.
But it's worth pointing out that I'm a very low level Demorthan, so there's very limited things I can do for now.
So yeah, just for background, there are this area is called Tricazel, and there are 3 different kingdoms. And outside of Tricazel, there is the continent, which is sort of just hinted at a lot in the literature. And each of the kingdoms have kind of, in a way, kind of split in their belief systems. So one of the 3 kingdoms has taken to the temple. One has taken to, or kind of retained its kind of Demorthan heritage, which is kind of the original belief system of this area, and another has kind of been taken by the Magiantists, which are sort of magical scientists. So
I guess it's worth saying as well that the southern region, the one we're in, is the one that is the kind of traditional, sticking to the Demorthan ways as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's bring on our final player, Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Tell us a little about Ragnar.
Right. So Ragnar is also an Osag. In contrast to Fionn, Ragnar is younger, so he's sort of early 20s. He's pretty tall, so just over 6 foot. He's got broad shoulders, bulky. Looks like he's been in the wars a bit, like he's got, probably a broken nose at some point. Long black hair. He's dressed in sort of woodsman style clothes, so warm tunic and whatnot, but like a leather tunic and animal skins, that sort of thing. He carries a bow, so he's a hunter by trade, or at least he is now. Moves fairly easily, fairly nimble, and he looks sort of, I guess, not that young for this world, but he does have a sort of an air of seriousness about him. Not exactly sullen, but not the most cheerful sort.
Cool. So this bunch, find themselves. They have all been in Melwan and kind of been rounded up by the villagers to assist with a mysterious illness that seems to have started spreading through the village. And they've been asked to go to the neighboring Derg and return with some medicinal herbs. So it is while they're on their way back that they are sheltering in this this temple, which Sophia may well have stayed in before. It's a well-known place for Varagals to stay if they're kind of passing through this mountainous area. So while you are there, actually, any time that Sophia has stayed there before, it's probably been uninhabited. But the monk from Derg, Fermin, is actually here doing some maintenance at the time that you arrive. And he says, friends, please come in. And you see there's sort of a fire with a pot over in the center of the stone chamber that you enter. Can I offer you some stew?
That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
This might be a stupid question, Jonny, but is this a temple of the temple?
Yes, it's a chapel dedicated to the temple.
Yeah.
So yes.
Cool.
And the temple is like the one god.
Yeah, that's the northeast.
Yeah.
No, northwest religion.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets a bunch of wooden bowls and kind of just scoops straight from the bubbling pot, and kind of holds them ready to pass out to each of you.
Yeah, I'll gladly sit by
Please.
the fire. What did
It's
you say
lovely
your
and
name was
warm.
again?
Oh, I didn't. Fermin is my name, friends. You may share your name with me if you wish, but I would never take a name from someone who does not wish to hand it over.
I am Fulgur.
Good to meet you.
I think at this point, Fionn is still outside. I don't know what Ragnar's done. Ragnar might have already headed in, but Fionn is kind of whispering to his crow and looking inside.
Okay. The fire sort of flickers a little as the wind and snow come in through the door and kind of blow it inwards.
Yeah. I think Fionn will probably note that he's being a bit rude, and then with one last word in the old tongue that others but Ragnar will not understand, Morag will fly off, and Fionn will wander inside.
Hello, friend.
Thank you for your hospitality. Most appreciated.
Of course, any and all are welcome here.
I think I'll shift down a little bit and go, there's a warm spot here right by the fire for you.
Have you come far?
Not too far. Not today.
We've been out collecting herbs for the village nearby.
Have you heard of this illness?
Yes. Yes. I've had a couple of people pass through here who have been through Melwan and also shared the bad tidings. So you have you been to Derg? Is that that is my home village. Is everyone there well? I hope the illness hasn't spread.
Had it spread?
No, there was nothing.
They are well.
I wouldn't take medicine from those who needed it.
Indeed.
Well, you have a safe and welcoming place to stay here for the night, if you so require, if the weather does not let up.
Take another look outside and go, that could be much needed.
I think there are some bedrolls in the back that I may be able to bring out if you don't have any with you. I'll go get them. And he kind of scurries off, scooping another bowl of stew on his way and kind of slurping as he's running into a back room.
Why did you hesitate outside?
Oh, it's just well, Morag isn't welcome, is she? To make sure she'll be okay. People don't tend to look kindly on ill omens such as her.
I'm sure she'd be welcome here. All are welcome in the temple.
I kind of just look around and then smile a bit and go, she'd probably shit on the floor.
As long as you don't, I think you'll be just welcome fine here.
Fionn just smiles quietly to himself and starts having his stew.
Can everyone make me? I've forgotten what the stats are. A perception roll.
First roll of the game.
So let's do a rule intro for people who are watching.
It's going
So the sort of stats in Shadows of Esteren are kind of split up. So you have each character has 5 ways, which they put a number between 1 and 5 in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And those ways are the way of combativeness, the way of creativity, the way of empathy, the way of reason, and the way of conviction. They then have 16 domains, which are essentially the skills, so perception, performance, science, shooting and throwing, all your kind of stats that you would expect. And you can then, once you get to 5 in a domain, you can take a discipline, which is sort of a subset, which you can continue to level up. So, for example, if you took... if you got up to 5 in shooting and throwing, you could then take an additional 1 in crossbows, for example, and continue to level crossbows up. So when you rolled on crossbows, you would add basically those 3 numbers together. So when you roll a d10, and you add the domain and discipline, if relevant, and the relevant way. So for perception, reason is the relevant way. So you would roll a d10, add your perception score and your reason way score. Sounds really complicated.
It is quite simple.
It is really
It
nice.
eases in.
Roll dice, add 1 number to it, or 2 numbers to it.
Add 2 numbers to it, or 3 numbers to it, depending on the circumstance.
So
But
if
you
everybody
might have
wants to
already
tell
switched
me,
those into 1 number.
if everybody wants to tell me their total and thus what their roll and things were, so that we get that kind of explained, that would be good.
Can I use my bonus keen sight for this perception roll?
It's not sight.
Okay.
Is it hearing?
It is. Yes.
Spoil what the thing is by checking which of my enhanced senses functions.
Well, Fulgur is not... he's not the kind of man to spend much time worrying about things creeping up on him. If there's a fight, he'll deal with it then and there. And so he only has 2 in perception. And by that I mean he has no points in perception and only 2 in reason. I rolled a 2, so that gives me 4.
Okay, cool.
So I've just got a 1 in perceptions. Do I roll 1 additional d10?
Yeah.
No, you add the 1.
Oh,
So you roll a d10, you add the 1, and then you add your...
Perception.
Yeah.
All right, so it's a 12 total for me then. So I rolled
Okay.
a 7, had a 1, and I got a 4 in my reason.
Great.
I only got 6 in total. I rolled a 1. I have 2 in reason and 3 in perception.
Okay.
So I have 3 in perception, reason is 2, and I have a bonus for keen hearing. So that makes a bonus of 6, and I rolled a 10.
Nice.
So now then, is there a thing about 10s exploding that you roll more dice, or is that specific rolls?
No.
That might be advanced rolls. I don't know. I heard somebody talk about it, but
Don't bring up advanced rules.
Yeah. Shush. That's the roll of the game. Why are you doing this to us?
It's the dice.
You're right. It was the dice's fault.
So, Sophia and Ragnall hear some heavy footsteps coming up the steps that led to the chapel.
Can I just ask? This is probably being a bit too gamey because Morag was still outside. Can I hear her cawing? This is up to you, Jonny. I don't mind.
I think based on your low perception roll, probably
Fair.
not.
Mhm.
Although Ragnall and Sophia may have also heard cawing.
Okay.
Whether you would know what that meant
Ragnall
with your
might.
short time together, yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Ragnall might. Yes.
Then I think Ragnar will. So he'll have taken a couple of bites of a couple of mouthfuls of stew, but he'll quickly put the bowl down, kind of spin around, and just watch the door.
Furman comes back out from the back and goes, I've found a couple of bedrolls. Do any of you have a bedroll, or should I continue looking for...
I'm fine. I have one.
Oh, good.
I just
I'll
lift
just,
the bedroll from.
Yeah, I'm fine. I've got my own.
Great.
Is something bothering you, Ragnar?
There's sounds like there's someone outside.
Has no one come in the door at this point?
There is a on the door, and the metal handle kind of jangles as the door moves back and forth, and then a as the door moves again.
Okay.
Would Sophia have experienced anything like this any
Yeah.
previous time she stayed?
I think that's all of our questions.
Probably not.
Did she know of any particular threats or wildlife around the area?
There's a bunch of wildlife around. It normally leaves inhabited areas alone for the most part.
Does
How,
this
how,
sound?
how isolated is this temple?
I mean, it's
Quite
relatively
reasonably.
isolated, yeah. But when I say inhabited areas, I don't mean they just stay away from villages. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily expect any wildlife to attack the door of a building.
Yeah, exactly.
For no particular reason.
Can I roll? I know we've already kind of said this, but can I roll natural environment just to check if it seems like any creature I know of makes a sound like that?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
So I rolled a 5 and I have +9 because I have 4 in natural environment and 5 empathy. So 14.
Nice. You would guess from the kind of snorty roar that it just you would guess that it may be some kind of bear.
Okay.
Anyone else would have probably potentially, depending on how sort of superstitious they are, may have thought that it was Fiondas, which, for those who don't know the setting and the system, is kind of the monstrous creatures of folklore that, people kind of have seen, but people who haven't seen them wouldn't necessarily believe that people have seen them. So depending on how superstitious you are, you may have thought that it was a monstrous creature. Go on, Justin.
Do I have time to maybe notch, not like with kind of pull out my bow and notch an arrow, kind of like in response to this banging, or are we not really?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, you've had a few seconds between sort of hit on the door 1 and hit on the door 2. So you probably.
I think I will see Folga notch the arrow and put my hand up and say, "Bear sounds like." Ragdoll, can you scare it off?
There's a question.
No need to kill it if it doesn't need to die.
I didn't expect you to, out of character, to say that.
Well, if it helps, Sophia was going to just having not taken her eyes off the door and continuing to slowly eat her stew, take a pause to say, "Are you afraid, Vermin?"
Yes, quite. I have no means to defend myself. I am well. You all
will be
look
fine,
much hardier than I.
You think down the door then?
Sam, how old is Fion? Did you say?
Fion's 29.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to call you a young man because you're older than me. So.
Ancient, I think, were the words
Ancient,
you used.
exactly. Yeah.
A bear could be scared away, but it could still attack a village or travelers. Perhaps it is the right time to deal with the problem now before it gets worse.
I think so. I'll have looked sort of surprised for a moment. I'll look across to Folga with bow and arrow. Honestly, I was hoping you were going to be close combat, but we can resolve that shortly. And after a moment's thought, I think Ragnar will just storm over to the door and roar at it and slam it back
on the door.
The door. Yeah.
I think if at any point, Ragnar, you did see my eyes and that I was looking at you quite pointedly, perhaps a little cruelly. I think you've probably had this sort of thing from Fion before.
Fair enough.
Okay. As Ragnar kind of roars and slams fists on the door, about a half second later, the creature outside smacks onto the door again, and Ragnar sees some splinters kind of come out of the inside of the door.
Foeman, is there a back exit to this place that you could get out through if the worst comes to the worst?
Well,
windows.
There are windows. Yes, we would have to break them, which would be a horrible shame. They're wonderful works of art. I agree. I'm not sure the temple would be happy, but
no, they wouldn't be. But perhaps it might be necessary. Ready yourself just in case.
Yes, that's probably wise.
Is there somewhere you can barricade yourself while we?
There is meat in the stew. Perhaps we could offer stew to the bear.
I look at Fionn and go, "There is meat on the bear."
I think while this conversation is going on, Fionn has been saying to Ragnar, "That wasn't scary enough."
Anyway, I'm just going to ready my.
Shortly after you say that, there's another bang on the door, and the splinters are now starting to become sections of door, kind of leaning inwards.
I'm going to ready my bow, and is it worth? Should we not open the door and on our own terms before it's knocked through? The door is coming down either way.
I feel like I've
once this whole thing is over, I would like to be able to have a warm night's sleep. Open the door.
Is that Jonny? Is there the fire that's set? Is there like a log or something that could be picked up that would be a flame?
Yeah.
I will carefully set down my stew, pick up something fiery, take a couple of careful steps towards the door, but not like close.
Yeah.
Just quietly ready.
I'll be backing off a few paces and also readying a bow. I think.
I'll be somewhere out of the way to the side. Probably holding my bow now too.
It's going to be cold tonight.
Mm-hmm. If you say that, I'll just be like, "You open the door then."
I think having seen Sophia with a sort of flaming torch, I might edge round, sort of, nod and edge towards where I can get one as well, something like that. That's a good idea.
The sort of the battering against the door continues, occasionally interspersed with sort of snorting roars and then scratching at the door, where you see eventually you see sort of ends of claws coming through the door and kind of scratching lines through the full width of the door.
If Femin's still in the room, say, if you have no spare door, we'd best open it now and deal with the problem before it destroys that.
No, there is no spare door.
And find someone safe.
Are you suggesting
No, go somewhere safe and quiet away from this room.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. And he kind of looks like he's about to say something and then can't think of what it is he should say and just kind of runs off into the back. His cloak, black brown cloak, kind of flowing behind him.
You'd think a priest could find a blessing to say in such a time. Goodness, this bear takes its time getting through this door.
Do we know each other well enough to know what kind of weapons we might use in such a scrape?
You've probably seen what weapons you each have. You probably haven't had a fight while being together. Fionn and Ragnar, obviously, that's a different matter.
I've stuck my longsword in the ground just in front of me, or at hand somewhere in front of me, so I can can easily get at it once I've fired my first shot.
Yeah,
and I've got my shield kind of again leaning against it, right at its side.
Basically, is there anyone else who looks like they might be going up towards the door other than little old me?
It's going to come through the door. It's going to come through the door.
Okay, guys, let's look forward to the immediate mauling of Sophia.
So, as Sophia is kind of deciding whether or not to walk up to the door, there is an almighty crash, and wood comes flying into the room, and you see this enormous black bear, pretty much the height of the doorway as it's standing on its hinds. And it lets out an enormous roar, and let's do initiative. So initiative is everybody's speed rating, which could vary. This is another little rules bit, depending on the fighting. I've forgotten the word. It's kind of the stance.
Attitudes.
Attitudes. Thanks, Steve. So you can choose offensive, defensive, and quick, I think.
That's standard, I guess.
Yeah, which change your stats depending on your potential score. So choosing quick ups your speed by your potential and decreases your defense, and choosing offensive ups your attack and lowers your defense, and defensive ups your defense and lowers your attack. So what fighting attitude are people choosing, and what does that put their speed at?
I'm going to choose quick, and that puts me at 8.
Yeah, I think for this first round, I'll also go quick, and my speed is 11.
Okay.
Very speedy.
That one in creativity really does mess me up. Oh dear.
So I'm still trying to remind myself of exactly what happens with each of the different. So the quick gives you
extra speed, but lowers your defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's your potential?
Do we make any roll for initiative, or is it literally just speed?
It's just this, yeah.
I'm going to go for offensive because my attack is pretty pitiful, and I feel like I wouldn't do anything to the bear without using that, which puts my speed at 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll also have to go offensive. Sorry, remind me. Sorry, I can't find the page at the moment where it says.
So it just adds your potential, which is probably 1, onto your attack score.
I've got 3 written down as my potential.
Oh, there you go.
Does that not sound right?
That sounds right.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're,
yeah.
Is it creativity that does that? Creativity 5.
Yeah. So it's potential plus speed then would be 8 total.
Okay, cool. So Steve is going to go first. Ragnall.
Right. So as soon as the door bursts open and this bear lumbers in, I will be shooting my bow, which will be shooting and throwing.
Yep.
So that's combativeness, which I have 5 in, plus 3 points of shooting and throwing, plus a bonus of 2.
Yep.
So that is a 10 over. Oh, okay. I keep rolling 10s. I've rolled another 10, so that is 20. Hang on, let me check. No, it won't be. It'll be 19 because of me going. No, it is. Sorry, it is 20.
Yeah, because it lowers your defense, not your attack when you do quick. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's a question of exploding dice again, but I'm going to keep rolling 10s until we sort it out.
No, not exploding dice. You can keep rolling 10s. You're completely within your rights, apart from the rights of the laws of probability, I suppose.
Well, yeah.
Okay. You hit the bear. Where do you want to hit the bear, Steve?
Oh, in the throat, I think.
Oh.
Okay. You hit the bear in the throat, but slightly to the side of its windpipe. So it sort of staggers as you hit it and lets out a slightly bubbly, enraged roar, and takes another step into the room. Justin is next.
Right. Do I roll for this and add my fighting?
Yes.
My fighting thing, is that okay?
Yeah. So are you shooting?
I am
So
shooting.
it's plus your shooting and throwing domain. Plus, did you take a discipline in one of these?
No, I didn't. I didn't end up taking discipline blows because I had a lot of disciplines already. Point being, I rolled a 9 and I add 8 to it for shooting and throwing, which makes 17.
Okay. Where do you want to shoot the bear?
I am firing a quick shot, so I'm not really aiming, just in the kind of silhouette
Center
of the
mass?
bear. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you hit it in sort of the lower abdomen.
Cool.
So not the heart, but if it's not hit an organ, it's very near one.
Cool.
And again, it kind of staggers. There's sort of a pooling of blood around the throat and now around the sort of stomach area as well. And it's kind of, it takes a couple of steps and then has to right itself, and then drops down onto all fours and kind of swoops one of its feet as if it's setting off to head in. Inga.
I'm not quite sure what I'll do for attack stuff if I've got a big old flaming stick, but I want to try and shove that in its face and just yell, like try and almost roar back, and I guess more scaring it than making a serious attempt to wound it, but trying to get it to.
Okay. Just quickly, because I forgot, Steve and Justin, have you got your weapon damage noted down? Because I should have added that to the damage.
I think my bow is 2.
2, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Sophia is waving a fiery stick around.
Yep.
So you're not attempting to hit the bear?
I mean, like, I'm not going to be too precious about trying to save the bear or be shoving it in its face, but it's not like I'm going like full force to like make an attack. It's more like shoving it in its face. If it pokes it in the face, if it pokes it in the eye, so be it. But it's not. I'm not like throwing the full. Well, yeah, I guess I'm shoving it in its face, but I'm trying to be scary, probably more than like. I mean, it's a stick. How much damage is it going to do? You know.
Okay, I'll tell you what. If you are sort of vaguely attempting to attack, we'll still make an attack roll. So make me a close combat roll.
Just a gentle poke with fire. Just a little fiery poke.
So close. Plus the combativeness. It's 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh wait, because I picked offensive, I add on my potential to my attack as well, right?
No.
Offensive. Right. Or defensive? Defensive.
Oh yeah, did you take offensive? Yes,
offensive,
you did. Yes, you add your potential onto your attack. Sorry.
Also, what did I say? That was 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. Then.
Okay. You as you're kind of waving it forwards, it kind of moves slightly to sort of. It's not backing off from the fire, which you probably know is quite strange, but it is kind of moving to avoid being singed. It's just not running away from it. So Sam is last in the order before the bear.
Given that I'm last as well, I guess I've had a moment to kind of observe it. Is this bear at all weird? It's certainly unusual that a bear would break down a door and then keep trying to fight us despite being shot by arrows, but is it just really hungry or something, or really angry for some reason, or does there seem like there's anything else odd about it?
Do you want to make a natural environment roll? It's not your action.
Sure, that's what I was going to double check, because I will still fire a bow if I get a chance, depending what this does, I suppose. Oh, that's a low roll, but I still have quite a lot to add on. 2. So that's 11, not great.
That is exactly what you needed.
Hey.
The bear's behavior is abnormal. And what you notice when Sophia is kind of waving the the flames nearby to its face is that its pupils are incredibly dilated, especially considering the fact it has fire directly in its face.
Yeah.
You would have expected them to contract quite quickly at that point. But they're basically fully dilated.
Given my knowledge of medicinal, is that something along the lines of it's ingested something or been given something, or along the lines of some other mystical effect? I guess it could be either.
Yeah, you're not sure on that.
Okay.
There certainly are things that it could have eaten that might have had a similar effect, but you wouldn't go, it's definitely this.
Yeah. The last question I have, because this is the sort of person Fionn is, Morag was still outside. You can just say, no, I have no idea. Do I think from the noise she's made, there are more people out there or something else out there? If I don't know, that's fine.
So you didn't hear the noise that she made?
Yeah, good point. And there's been a lot of noise in here, so I probably wouldn't have heard it. That makes sense. In that case, without having any further information of how to stop said bear, I'm going to shoot it.
Okay. Yep. Make me a shooting and throwing roll.
I do have purgative medicinal herbs, but I just can't see a way of giving that
Just
to the bear
like,
safely.
hold still for 1 second while I shove this down your throat.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to shoot it. It kind of pains me to do so, I suppose. Bow. I'm not particularly good. Oh, that's a pretty good roller. 15.
Okay. Yes, that will hit it, and that's 2 for the weapon damage again, isn't it? Okay. So this hits it in the shoulder, and again you see a kind of swelling of blood come out, and it stumbles a little on that side, and then pulls its head up and lets out a full roar again, and comes charging forwards into the room. So is Sophia the furthest forward?
I mean, he's waving fire right in his face, so I think so.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. What is Sophia's defense stat in your current, which will have 3 deducted from it?
It would be 12, but -3 is 9.
Okay. I have rolled an 18, and I had 3 damage, which is 21, deducted from, what did you say you had?
On defense, was that? Is it deducted from the defense?
Yeah.
9. I had 9.
Do you have any armor that grants you any protection?
Oh yes, I've got a 2 protection. From leather armor.
It's gonna basically charge and slightly maul Sophia, and it's 10 health points damage.
That's a lot of health.
What?
So that's more than half standard health for reference.
So that's going to put you into some sort of disadvantages, I imagine, on your roll.
-2, I think.
So is it how's health? I forget how health works again.
There's a block on the character sheet that
you've got sort of blocks of 5, is it?
So you kind of like tick
5,
those off
5,
as you go.
4, 4, and then 1.
Yes. Yeah. So with 10
fill up the
damage,
first 2.
yes. So you wouldn't be in the third one yet.
Okay. So
you're still okay.
Yeah.
It was only a minor warning. Okay.
How are you doing? I'm okay. Blood everywhere. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, just a minor
Inga,
warning.
how attached are you to Sophia anyway?
About 50 minutes worth of attachment.
Wow.
So,
dear.
background to Ragnall. So you've just seen this bear charge in, and it's basically pushed Sophia to the floor and sort of bitten into probably her left shoulder.
Ouch. Okay, I think I'm going to grab. I shall grab my axe. I have like Francisca axe, so it's kind of like a throwing axe, but you can use it as melee as well.
Is this within
Oh
2
yeah,
yards?
everyone can change
The fighting
the
attitude.
fighting
Yeah.
attitude. Yeah, it's at the top of the round. Basically, you can choose what to set it as.
And presumably we can move within the space without. Like, can I get to the bear from where I am if I drop my bow and?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I will use defensive then. This is probably no, it should be fine. I'll use defensive, and I will go and start hacking at the bear with my axe.
Actually, just quickly, it's worth knowing what everybody's fighting attitude is going to be, because it might change the initiative order.
So my speed is going to be 7 as I switch to offensive.
Okay.
My speed would be 9.
Mine's stay on 6. I'm staying at offensive.
I am going to go very defensive. Or, yes, the curl up in the fetal position stance. Yeah.
So does that put your speed to 5? No, 8 still, right? Because that's what you were on. Is that right?
Yeah, speed doesn't change offensive to defensive.
I might have messed it up before then. I think I'm just on 5 speed then.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't change the order of you and the bear, so it's fine.
It's normal speed unless you're in quick, Inga.
Yeah. So, Steve, you are still top of the order.
Right.
So swinging your axe.
Yes.
Close combat roll. Where are you going for?
The other side of the neck, I think.
Yeah.
I'm still, yeah. Sorry, I'm now thinking about how I'd fight a bear, which wouldn't last long at all. Anyway, close combat. So I have 3 pips in close combat, plus 5 for combativeness, plus a bonus of 1. So that's a bonus of 9. I rolled a 4, so that's 13 in total.
Okay. That's going to do it. You hit this bear in the side of the neck, and it kind of lifts its head up to look at you, and then as you pull the axe back out, just kind of gushes blood out of the side of its neck onto the floor, and then it kind of starts to drop, and then you hear a sound from kind of deep inside it, and it vomits out this intense sort of weird yellow bile just to the side of Sophia's head.
Cool.
And then collapses sort of half on Sophia.
I think Fulgo would try and maybe drag Sophia out from underneath the bear.
I'll try and lift the bear up.
I'll be careful, don't touch it. I'm pointing at the liquid on the floor.
Yeah.
And then immediately go to Sophia. I had fun going full on with different medicinal herbs and things. So Fion's first going to say, someone boil some water, quick. And then get out some clean bandages and then start prying off your armor. And giving you a leaf to chew on.
Thanks. There's not a whole lot of armor, like some leather armor, but there's nothing I'm not fully stacked up. I'll try and vaguely prop myself up a little bit with my walking staff, which I have in the other hand. But barely kind of holding myself up, I think.
Barely.
I'm gonna call for Fermin as well as I start getting this water going.
Yeah, you hear a door open and see a face kind of peering out, and he says, "Oh, you have vanquished the beast, my heroes. I will say many a prayer and blessing for you this night and for many nights to come."
The thing seems half dead anyway. It's clearly infected with some horrible condition.
Oh dear.
Something very odd about it.
Ragnar will have walked to the door to see whether there's anything else outside.
So the wind and the snow kind of howling past you. Fion's bird is, I presume, I'm picturing kind of there's sort of a naked tree nearby, which I kind of picture she's probably sat in.
I think she probably watches the door, waiting for me to come out as soon as I go into the building.
So Ragnar would spot the bird as well, but you can't see anyone else down the steps or kind of to the sides or anything.
I think that seeing Ragnar at the door, if you're okay with me saying this, Jonny, she'll probably immediately fly down to you, Ragnar, because she saw something very scary try and go inside the temple.
I'll hold my arm out and let it perch, and I guess from there I'll be able to see.
I think I'm looking over my shoulder as you go out the door anyway, and just nod and then go back to tending to Sophia.
Do you? I put in the little cheat sheet that I did the thing for doing healing. I think this counts as immediately after an injury.
Yeah.
So the way that this works is a roll of 14 or more on science, Demorphan mysteries, or natural environment just after injury restores 1 health point.
The more than mystery is the better. Can I get an extra point for traditional medicine? I'm guessing yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that's for.
Yeah.
Cool. So that is empathy. I mean, okay, good. 18.
Cool. Yeah, that's so one hit point restored for Sophia.
1 whole hit point.
Hey.
Nice.
That's good. It's
10%.
Look, I'm giving you things for long term. I'm wrapping it up too. We're going to get the boiling water to sterilize the wound. It's long.
What I will say is, because the general sort of healing rules is that resting can recover 3 hit points per 24 hours, 1 for a night's sleep, 1 for adequate care, and 1 for resting during the day as well. So what I will say is that the sort of bandaging and salves or whatever that Fion applies will count as your adequate care once you're through the night's sleep. So in the morning, you would regain 2 hit points as opposed to 1 when we get there.
And to make that fair, I'll make a note of using some of my herbs and bandages.
So it's supposed to be, and I know it seems quite harsh, but it's supposed to be relatively sort of harsh and realistic in terms of you don't just get better when you're injured.
Just got mauled by a bear
quickly. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'll point out. Out too, you're in a lot of pain, but as you chew on the leaf, it feels a little better. Gave you some painkillers too, you know.
Is that one of the brand name leaves or one of the store generics?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Sorry, go on, Sam.
I was just going to say, assuming like some time passes, I would be curious to look at that liquid as well. But other people would probably have more of a chance to do that than me. So, anyone else go?
So the wind and the snow are continuing to howl in, and the temperature is dropping, unless you are very near the fire.
I'm going to pull out like the canvas of my tent that I have and I kind of look at the door and then look at the canvas and look at Ragnar in a kind of like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Do you know anything about I can make my own tent, but I can't fix a door. Like I have soft hands.
The soft hand at night.
Interesting.
I'm like looking to try to wedge the maybe like the I don't know, the outer
around like the remains of the door,
but not successfully. I mean, what I'm asking here, really, Steve, is do you have anything in craft?
I have nothing in craft.
I have 1 in creativity and nothing in craft. So I'm literally the worst person for this.
I mean, I've got survival as a discipline, so in natural environments. So
I have survival and I've got high creativity.
I think Fion, if he sees you doing this, go on.
I'm happy to make a roll to try and fix the door, but I'm just saying I don't foresee it going great.
How knackered is the door?
Pretty knackered.
So
firewood, is it?
there is still some door attached to the hinges.
For a start.
So is it something could be barricaded, right? Like so just to keep it closed rather than like a repair job as such.
Yeah, it's like a table or something we can drag
There's
over.
probably a table that you could lean up against it and just try and keep the worst of the howling out.
Yeah, I'll just shout that out in a low, slightly
I guess
funky way.
I'm gonna make it. If no one else is gonna move forward, I'll make a craft roll to try and improvise something for the door. Does that make sense?
I was going to say, if Fionn sees you all struggling, he will get up and try and help and leave Sophia for a moment.
Oh, you're
having
busy.
Good creativity and craft.
I am going to ask
Master of
specifically
herbs.
for a craft roll rather than like a survival
do that.
roll. And I'm going to ask for a complicated, which is a 14.
Okay.
No, there's literally no way I could even do that.
Yep. Dead on. I rolled dead on 14.
Great. So what Fionn manages to do is sort of looks at it a little bit and then I figure probably opens the door that is still there and kind of hooks the tent canvas around that door, closes it, pulls it around the other side and manages to... There are a couple of small gaps at sort of the top corner and the bottom, but that's more because the canvas isn't quite big enough to cover them rather than Fionn having done a bad job of kind of maneuvering it. The temperature doesn't increase quickly, but you certainly notice less of a biting cold now.
Fionn doesn't say
good.
anything, but he makes a few noises while putting the tent up.
What do we do without him?
And then immediately goes back to Sophia.
Is he always this much fun, Ragnar?
Ragnar will just sigh.
Furman says, I can't thank you enough, although the temple probably won't be happy about the door. I shall have to travel back to Derg tomorrow, I think, and send word to them. But for now, can I offer any stew or a hot drink? I feel we should try and keep warm. And your friend, are you okay? You are injured?
She'll live. I tap you on the other shoulder, Sophia.
Yeah, fine.
Nice.
All the way to Derg with the temple exposed. I mean, is there something that we could help you with?
No, it's fine. There is nothing of any material value in here for anyone to take, so there should be no issue. There are often days with the doors unlocked and nobody here to... I mean, it's a coincidence I'm here today doing maintenance when you arrive, and also this creature, he says, looking at the bear.
So you don't live out here normally?
I go back and forth to the village. My main home is there, but I am tasked with maintenance of this chapel. So it is only when maintenance is required or checks are required that I travel here.
Ragnar, what do you make of this? I say, looking at the strange fluid on the floor.
Jonny, about the fluid though, would we recognize that at all from like the illness that we've kind of been tasked to get herbs for?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of mention of bile or similar sort of, dilated pupils? Does any of that ring bells for the sickness we're already aware of?
No. No.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, is what I meant.
No, those two. I always get those two mixed up.
No. Wait, the other one.
It's like left and right.
Number of times.
keeps us on our
Yes.
toes.
Yes, you have seen a similar thing in some cases, but not all.
Interesting.
Something on your mind, Sophia? Seem to be lost in thought.
You try getting bitten by a bear.
I try to avoid it.
Yes,
Probably
I
wise.
saw that. This bile does. I think it's been referred to. We've seen some people give the same sort of have the same symptoms, but it's. Have there been any other cases in animals? Is this sort of like the first time? Had it been?
Yes, I think this is probably the first time that you've seen an animal with this.
This is a concern if it's getting into the wildlife.
Something very wrong with that.
Yes.
No disease I've encountered would affect man and bear.
That's awfully clever reasoning.
I think then I'll look back at Sophia and be like, how is the pain? I can help you sleep if you want.
My pain is fine. Did any of that bile get on me?
I think you're okay.
You notice Firmin kind of peering over at the bear and at the bile on the floor, but sort of obviously not wanting to get close.
I should have really taken the bear outside before we fix the door.
I think as if you say that, Ragnall, Fionn will go. The door can be moved.
Do you think then if the bear is diseased that the meat is bad?
We should not eat that bear.
Definitely. We should burn it if possible, but not in here. Perhaps if you two could drag it out, we could try burning it in the morning.
It's a shame. The skin looks warm.
Is it raining out? Is it raining out? Is it just cold?
It
Or
was
is
snowing,
it-
wasn't it?
Cold and snow.
Snow. There's no kind of protected bit like outside where you could like set something on fire? Like an entrance bit or anything like that? No, not really.
Not really. Yeah, it would be hard work to get a fire going currently, certainly.
Okay.
The wind as much as anything.
None of you know how to
But
skin
yes,
a
you can
bear?
certainly take the bear out.
I will be at the door then looking at you two like, come on then, take the bear out.
Or if the door can be opened and closed in a sensible way, I'm happy to take it out. But I
I'm
will
assuming
grumble the whole time about how nice a bear coat would be.
Are you okay with that, Jonny? That the door was openable?
Yeah, it's fine. Like the one that's still fully intact, you can sort of just unhook the canvas from the top to the door open. If somebody's kind of holding it semi in place, then you wouldn't need to do too much to get it back.
Then with only the smallest amount of hand waving, the bear is gone.
Can Sophia try and like prop herself up and stagger across using a walking stick to get outside and leave any signs to other travelers or varigals that the bear is to be avoided?
Yeah. Yeah. Happy with that?
While Sophia is doing that, I think I will. I can't remember what he's called, the priest of this temple?
Firmin.
Firmin. Is Firmin there at the moment?
Yes. Yeah. He's actually gone and got some water and is sort of scrubbing the blood stains that are now on the floor.
Okay, good.
While sort of staying away from the bile area as much as possible.
Yeah. I think I will look at him and say, do you have a mop with a handle?
No, unfortunately not.
Well, then I would recommend not touching it until you get one.
I mean, surely wood shavings and a brush, something like that could. Anyway, I don't do the cleaning in my. What do I know of these things? They're not issues.
As Sophia comes back in and hears this, she'll just take her staff, like stab it onto the rags, and use the staff to mop.
Mhm.
And then
what
look
form
tired
are the
and
signs
quiet.
taking that you're leaving for other travellers, by the way, Inga?
I mean, depending on where exactly it's been placed, if there's like a tree nearby or something, like I'm not sure exactly what would be traditional in avoid the bear kind of sign.
Yeah.
But I have it.
Okay, that's fine. Just scratching in.
Yeah, it's one of the disciplines available to Varigals for leaving sort of. Well, I think there must be more like sort of secret signs and things that others wouldn't necessarily know how to interpret. But given that it seems
Cool.
most travelers that would kind of use this as a sort of bothy type thing, then
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sensible. Cool. As you kind of move the bile stuff, Furman kind of looks at you in. Can you look at somebody in a grateful way? Kind of like a, thanks, and kind of gets up off his knees.
Having done that, I'll when I go sit back down by the fire, I'll put the end of my staff in my walking stick in the fire to try and just in case there's any bile to burn it off before pulling it out.
Yeah.
And wrapping it off for the night.
I'll also make a point to kick the rags out of the door.
Yeah, through the little gap that's under the canvas.
Nudge them out.
Furman says, well, I'm not sure I will be able to sleep at the moment, but I feel like now may be an appropriate time to try. If you'll excuse me, I may just put my bedroll down near the fire and try and close my eyes for a while.
I do have something that might protect us a little more. And Ragnar will fish out. This is something I've bought from the exhaustive kit list. I thought, why the hell not? I bought a bear trap.
Oh, nice.
Just
going to put it in the aisle.
We should have done that right at the start. We should have put that up there.
From now on, every building we go in, bear trap down.
Oh no, I'm sure Ragnar's got a trap for every creature that we've got today. Like I'm sure if you've got one for a bear, you've got to have one for everything.
So I will kind of prime
that.
this bear trap in front of the door.
Hope no one needs to go to the lavies.
Yeah, I'll point it out to everybody. I don't.
I'm going to pull my sleeping bag to close to the door, kind of putting my So I'm planning on sleeping quite close to the door in case something, and I've got my shield and sword kind of at hand. Although I'm not wearing my chainmail to bed.
I'm going to be insisting as much as I can to Sophia that she should rest by the fire as you're kind of trying to heat your staff and everything.
With no objection whatsoever, she'll have by this point sort of slump once her staff is just happy that that's sort of burned off. Then it's an iron staff, it's not a wooden staff. She takes it off and she'll probably just doze right off. I think pretty quickly.
Oh, by the way, Jonny, it's kind of pernickety, but are we counting arrows or are we not worried?
I am not too worried about you counting arrows.
Cool. Oh, good.
You would be able to recover all of these anyway. None of them missed or broke on anything, so I think it's safe to say you'd be able to get them all back.
I think Theon settles on the far side behind the cooking pot at the back of the temple and kind of unbraids his hair and starts brushing it quietly to himself.
You're a big man, Ragnar, but you're quick. You're on that bear before I could make a move.
Yes, that's how we're trained.
I think I will say across the room in the old tongue to Ragnar, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you charge the thing. Shame it didn't run. Whatever was happening wasn't your fault anyway. I'm sure you would have scared off a normal bear. Only Ragnar understands that.
I know, but it is funny. I'm sure you were scared of a normal bear.
I do say it sincerely. I'm not trying to joke when I say it.
They are skittish,
Yeah,
notably.
you could totally scare off a bear with a loud yell to a door suddenly normally.
Well, I'll smile a bit, and yeah, it was worth a try.
Everyone turning in.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. You are all probably woken at multiple points in the night through discomfort, the howling of the wind, probably noises that wake you with a start in case something else is coming in.
No
Terrible recurring nightmare.
But you all then eventually...
Sorry, go on.
No, you all then eventually wake to a bright winter sunshine coming in through the windows and also through the gaps in the door around the canvas.
I mean, Fulgur has such low perception. Would he have even woke?
Just slept through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think Phil might be up like as dawn just comes through and then is braiding his hair while the others are kind of waking up first thing.
Would Sophia have had a restful enough night to get the extra HP? Or...
Yes, two HP back for Sophia. Which I think leaves you with 7 damage now. Is that right?
8. Because I took 10.
You got 1 healed initially.
I thought that one was part of these 2 after night.
No. So that one was sort of a first aid situation, okay. And then in 24 hours you can get appropriate treatment, a night's sleep, and a day's rest.
Right. So I thought that was the appropriate treatment of the day. Cool. That's fine.
Yeah, so you've got an extra one.
I guess mechanically that first aid roll is there to save someone from the moment of death in the last hex, isn't it? That one at the immediate, yeah.
Class.
So Furman sort of wakes with a yawn. To live to see another day, friends.
Always a pleasure.
I think
Are you sure you don't need any help getting to this village?
No. I will be fine. The sun is shining. I'm sure that nothing else unto what this is surely a once in a lifetime experience. What has happened this night? So I will. I have a couple of rabbits in the back, which may do for breakfast. If you would care to join me.
Sounds lovely. Thank you. I think I will.
I think I have some mint leaves as well for some tea. Yes, I shall get to it immediately.
As he's doing that, I'm kind of spooning up some of the dregs of the cold stew, and I'm gonna go outside to give some to Morag.
Nice.
I will have disarmed the trap.
I presumably step around it in the daylight rather than getting my legs stuck in the trap. I think Fionn is actually a little embarrassed given all that went on last night. He forgot to pop out to feed Morag in the evening too, so she's probably
Morag's going to give him so much shit for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, as Fionn goes outside, it's a beautiful sort of wintry day. Bright sunshine. You can see for miles from your sort of slightly raised area, as you're sort of almost on the edge of the mountain range, so you can kind of see out to the area out past you. Bird song, sort of, relatively nice wintry morning.
Mm-hmm. Is there an altar in the temple?
Yes, at the front of the chapel. Yeah. Worth noting as well for viewers that the world which these characters inhabit is in kind of a long winter spell, which happens. I can't remember how frequently it is, every 70 years or something. A very long winter spell. So yeah, it will be this way for some time. But yes, a beautiful sunny winter's day, and I think after an initial bit of grumpiness, Morag is probably quite happy to see you and have some food. Furman comes out from the back with a couple of sort of strung rabbits around his shoulders, and a sort of sprig of mint leaves, and a jug of water, and he puts the water into the pot and kind of sets up a little spit for the rabbits over the edge of the fire, and sets to making tea and breakfast. And he says, "So again, thank you for your help last night. Had you not been here, I dread to think what would have happened. I would love to give you more than this meal, but I am a man of few means. But just know that should you ever need this place again, it will always be here for you, and anyone else who needs it."
We best burn that body this morning.
I think Theon hasn't come back in and is gathering wood outside at the moment. So.
I thought we was going to go and pray.
Furmin watches with interest as you head up to the front. I don't think he'd realised that anybody would be.
I pray to the one God, so.
I don't think he would have realised that anyone in the group was of that faith. So he sort of notices you going up and continues with what he's doing, but is seems mildly pleased to see you heading up there.
I have an image of a shot of Fulgur at the altar, like with kind of looking backwards at Fulgur face, and then just the priest just slides in from the side with a smiley face.
I mean, this priest has got to do his own praying at some point. I can imagine. I'm just trying to say, keep us in his thoughts. If we could get a priest on side, that cosmic righteousness could see us through the rest of the storyline.
He a couple of minutes pass, and he says that the tea is ready for anyone who would like a hot drink.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Passes you a sort of a wooden cup with hot water and still some sort of broken up mint leaves in there. It's very tasty, fresh mint tea. Another couple of minutes pass, and he kind of gets wooden plates and puts a little bit of rabbit meat on each and passes them out. So is Theon still outside?
Yeah, I think by this point I've probably cleared a space and I've started lighting a fire, but I know it's going to need to get fairly big to be able to burn a bear, so I'm kind of just building it up gradually.
Has Furmin served any food? Has he reserved any food for himself? Or is he going without?
He has taken some tea, but he is going without food. He has split the food 4 ways.
Furmin, you should eat. I have provisions in my pack. You've got a long day's travel ahead of you.
Fulgur, I will be well when I return to Durg. I shall be looked after.
I am implacable on this topic, and will continue to resist eating the food until he eats it. And I think I will win that battle of mind, so we can skip that.
Yeah, after a couple of back and forths, he eventually backs down.
And I'll get some food from my pack.
He then takes a plate and a cup outside to Theon, and then goes, "I shall be back in a moment," and lifts the pot off the fire inside and grabs sort of as many of the bits of wood that are on fire that he can safely carry without kind of having to grab them to himself, and carries those outside as well and adds them to the fire that Theon was building.
I am most appreciative of the food and the fire.
And
I
once
think
I've
by this
finished-
point,
Yeah, once I finish, I'll head outside and help with the fire as well.
by the point that people are starting to help, it's probably big enough that the bear would burn. So I will ask for some help moving that.
Yeah,
Sure.
going pretty well now. Firmin notably stays away from the bear as you are moving it.
Reasonable.
Sophia stays sat, but probably still by the fire, trying to awkwardly eat with one hand and balance the bowl so she doesn't spill it. Keeping the other shoulder fairly rested, trying not to move it.
Are we all nearly ready to be heading back to the village, or are there any other things we must do here?
Has everyone cleansed their hands since touching the beast?
No.
Is there a stream nearby or a?
Must we cleanse our... I mean, there's snow, we can melt it in a pot.
Oh, true.
Yeah, you could just
Cool.
And I have soap, because of course I have soap.
So
Oh, I don't have
get
soap.
you.
Wow, if you have soap,
Soap.
I'll actually
And I have a washcloth. So
an
suck
eyelid
it.
will raise. An eyelid will raise at the concept of I was
Transition,
water.
Yeah, so the only bit of the
I've-
bear that touched me was its teeth on my shoulders. I trust you did a good enough job cleaning it up, Fionn.
I feel like Fionn will curiously use your soap.
Don't use too much. I bought it in what was the in Osterbale. They said the perfume is
I'm like
precious
doing this.
without.
I'm like doing this with my hand now to see his bubbles drawing across.
Fulger's Big City Soap.
It's Big C soap. You know, you can't get that stuff anywhere. And scented soap.
Different word.
So the bear is burning relatively well. You are pretty confident that this will just, you couldn't do much more to get rid of the remains.
And the rags.
And the rags, yeah.
Well, I'm going to take my tent down then. Pack it away. And I'm good to go. I'm packed and ready.
Sophia, do you feel you can travel?
I'll be fine. There'll be a tale to tell with the next group of people I meet.
Just make sure we don't push the pace too much.
It's my shoulder, not my legs. We'll be fine.
Your strength will take a few days to recover, though. Be cautious.
She knows what she's doing, Fionn. Let's
I'll
be
just-
off. The
I'll give
cold
you a
is
look.
really biting. We should get to the village soon so that these herbs can be used to heal the villagers.
Exactly.
Yes, you are right. I will call
Okay.
Morag to my shoulder and then make to head on.
Firmin kind of stands at the doorway to the chapel as you are kind of set to head out and says, again, my new friends, thank you. I shall keep you in my blessings and my prayers today and for some time. And if you are ever here or in Derg again, I would hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Stay well.
And you.
Yeah. Let's go.
Cool. So you head down the stone steps and into the kind of mountain pass. It's still a lovely sunny but cold day as you pass down here. You see the occasional sort of rabbit dart across or squirrel, but never anything larger or scarier than that. Melwan has been affected by a serious disease of unknown origin. Although nobody's certain, there was a lord at Melwan called Manek MacLear, and he died several weeks ago. And the infection then seemed to spread to other inhabitants of the MacLear's castle. And since then, it seems to have passed to other sort of commoner members of the village. So the Demorthan in Melwan by the name of Waylon basically tasked you with heading to Derg to bring back the medicinal herbs, either that you could collect or from Logue, who was the Demorthan in Derg. And her aim is to prepare a concoction which can help the sick people survive. However, considering the number of infected people, she needs quite a large quantity of raw materials, which is why she's basically asked you to go there to collect from another Demorthan's stash, essentially.
And so we have bags of herbs now, like.
Yeah, you've got quite a lot with you. Yeah. Probably quite similar to what Theon has anyway, but in much larger quantities.
Yeah, like sacks and sacks of like dried herbs, probably.
Given we're in the middle of snow up in the mountain passes, there's not going to be anything up here as well, is there? It's going to be more the lowlands where you'd find herbs.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not bothering to look for anything else.
So it's a relatively long day's travel, not aided by Sophia kind of being slightly slower to make sure that no harm comes to her. But eventually, towards evening, you arrive at the village of Melwan, which we have some lovely artwork from the book.
Oh wow, lovely.
So this is the village square. So you kind of you pass the castle and kind of come under that viaduct area and up into the village. You, before leaving, secured lodging at this ale house here, which is called the Old Chestnut Inn, and is run by a woman named Maltaria, who you know is widowed. So she runs the inn on her own.
Which old chestnut? Or that old chestnut?
That old chestnut, yeah.
Is is the village actually like warmer, as in not in snow, or is it just a picture?
It is slightly warmer here. You could imagine that the storm that kind of hit the upper area where you were potentially hasn't had quite the same effect down here.
Cool, more of a frost than like full on frozen. Cool.
So yes, you arrive at this kind of time of evening.
Do we know where Waylon would be likely to be? I guess we want to take the herbs to her immediately, right?
So Waylon lives in a hut outside of the village.
Would we have passed on the way in, or
no? You would pass through to get to her hut. Yes.
In that case, I guess I will say we should go straight to Waylon with these. They may be needed immediately.
Of course.
Cool. You pass through the village, which is relatively quiet. You pass a couple of people who kind of look at you, sort of hopefully, seeing the bags of stuff that you've brought back, and kind of nod at you gratefully as you pass. And you pass through the village and out to Waylon's hut. And you can see that there is a fire inside. Are you knocking?
I guess, unless someone else would have deliberately made the point to do so first, given that she's also a Demorthan, I will have made the point to kind of be at the front and knocking.
Let the Demorthans do what the Demorthans do.
Yeah, so I'll knock.
You hear sort of shuffling of feet inside, and then the door clicks open, and Waylon is there. and says, "Ah, friends, please enter. I see that you have had a successful trip." And then sees Sophia's shoulder and says, "Oh my."
She is okay. We had a very strange encounter with a bear.
Goodness me.
Some notable similarities to this illness here, strangely enough. The bear behaved like no bear should. Broke into a temple to fight us all.
It seemed crazed.
Certainly a mad bear.
Dilated pupils, and it was certainly very angry, and it vomited some sort of horrible bile.
Yellow?
Yes. We cleaned it and made sure not to touch it. Burned
Probably
it all.
wise. Things have progressed here, unfortunately, in the couple of days you've been away. There are now probably a fifth of the village have been afflicted. And a dozen or so have passed. And it also seems to be affecting the cattle.
Sorry to hear that.
I should begin work with this as soon as possible.
Have you had much luck with treatments with what you have?
It is difficult to say. Some have died and some have lived who have been treated with the same things, but it may be that the ones who died had a worse affliction than those who didn't. It is very difficult to say if things have worked.
I understand. Well, what can we do?
Well, we should try and experiment with these herbs. The only thing that I can think to do is look for combinations that treat the symptoms and see if that treats the cause.
Do you know how it is spreading between people or the cattle?
Nobody has any idea.
What are the very first signs?
Fever, which obviously can be many things. The vomiting. In some cases, delirium. And in others, potentially, well, similar to what you seem to have seen in that bear.
Very worrying.
We have had a villager need to be restrained for fear of harming others, and it did seem to begin the same way as the other people's sickness.
What can be done?
Like I say, the only thing I can think to do is try and treat the symptoms for now and look for a cause throughout. Who knows how long it would take to find a cause, and if we don't treat the symptoms, the entire village may perish.
You say some seem to have recovered. Are they better now, or are they just not dying?
I'm unsure if anyone has recovered completely, but some seem to be worsening and have since improved.
Well, that is a good sign, at least.
Yes. I shall begin with this, and yes. Why don't you have had a long and clearly difficult few days, why don't you go to the inn and have a night's rest? You come back tomorrow and we will talk then.
Yes, thank you.
Is it safe to stay in the inn?
Safer than outside, I imagine.
I don't believe that anyone else is staying there. Many people are not out and about in the village at the moment, and as far as I'm aware, Maltaria is healthy. You should be fine.
All right. Yes,
We
perhaps I'll go back. And Fionn, if you could take another look at my shoulder, I'd be much appreciative.
I shall. We should all use caution while we're here.
Perhaps in the morning we should pay a visit to this lord's family and pay our condolences. I mean, they were the first to be struck by this. This tragedy has no doubt affected them as much as anyone.
How keen were you to get in close contact with that bile last night?
I don't see whether it's here or there. I mean, the tragedy of this illness is affecting everyone.
Don't think all the bile is as blatant and yellow. Should be careful.
By the way, Jonny, when Fulga mentioned the Lord, did I've forgotten her name already.
Waylon.
Waylon, thank you. Did Waylon seem to react at all to that? I think I was kind of watching her.
Not outside of the ordinary. It was just she was interested in the whole conversation. She didn't seem to sort of prick her ears up or anything at that particularly.
So, shall we be off then?
Yes. When we head out to leave, maybe just get a little closer to Fionn and say, I'm worried about fever, please, or infection, or actually, I don't know if there'd be a concept of infection specifically, but
probably in general.
I mean,
we don't know what causes it, but you know you can get infection.
Yeah. I don't know if any of that bile would have got in through that bite, but any sign of heat or beyond normal healing,
I'll keep a close eye on you. Don't worry.
I mean,
I have some fresh bandages.
If it's any consolation from my moderate knowledge of medicine, I don't think you will be any more susceptible to this than the rest of us. Given your,
I find a fever is often a sign of an angry temperament. And Sophia, I think that this stands you in good stead.
I'll give you a look. We'll hope for no fevers here. Thank you, Fulga.
I'm 100% going to do Fulga as like completely medieval. Like the biles are rising. The humors are imbalanced in this one.
This is a funny balance to have because my character is meant to be able to do good medicine, so I have to have knowledge of it, but also I don't want to, push it too much.
Yeah. I'm going to continue to talk about how we should visit the Lord's family, as they were the first people to be struck by this terrible illness. Fulga's not making any kind of intelligent thought about that, but other people might.
What time of day is it, by the way, Jonny? Is it evening now?
Yes, yeah, you're sort of probably 7 or 8 p.m. at this point. Probably hungry.
Yeah.
Unless you've been eating rations on the way, but
yeah, I guess Fionn will say yes. I think that's a good plan.
Did we get paid for this job? In any way?
Yeah, did we?
Like for example, is the inn going to put us up for free or something?
You are being put up. You are being put up at the inn. Yes,
good.
That's acceptable.
And she will provide food if you want it.
I definitely do, because I have precisely zero money. I bought that soap and it was so expensive. I have 80 bars of soap. That's all I've got.
Amazing.
You might be starving, but damn if you don't smell good.
Everyone's got priorities.
Amazing smelling night.
Oh dear.
It'll be great for trade if we can, Anyway,
I'm not going to trade my soap, then I'll stink.
Like the rest of us.
So you head into the inn. and it is deserted apart from Maltaria, the innkeeper, sitting at a table, drinking a drink herself. And she says, "Ah, you have returned. Although you seem to have you already been to Wayland? You did get what she needed."
It's
Right
lovely
away.
to see you again. We have been to Wayland. We have delivered the supplies. We'll all be sorted soon, we hope.
Lovely. Can I offer you some food? I don't have anything hot at the moment, but I have bread and cheese and some salted meats.
It's not too much trouble.
Of course. You have done us a great kindness. And she runs off and returns momentarily with a plate each of the described food and
Beef?
ale, wine. What would you like to drink?
Wine, please. And yeah, eyeing up the meat, does it look like beef?
No.
We're getting
Sorry,
flashbacks to the
mentioned
story here.
cattle. I know how this works. This is the
It's
second
more-
round of dodgy cattle we've had now.
It's more gamey than cattle.
Well, we know it's not in the wild animals, so... Oh, wait. Fulger's going to just chow down, you know?
I think Fionn will immediately pick up the cheese and go straight outside to give some to Morag, feeling a little guilty about last night. Who is waiting maybe in the big what was the tree? Elm?
It was the chestnut,
Oh, outside.
because
Big chestnut.
it's
the
that
old
old chestnut.
yes.
That the
Oh,
old tree.
Yeah.
This is the old chestnut. We're
The
at that old chestnut.
We need to get out of here quickly. She provides you with the food and drink as requested, and says, "If you'll excuse me, I think I might close up early this evening and get some rest.
Of course.
I don't think anybody else will be in." And she gets up and slides a bolt across the door, and says, "Good night," and heads upstairs. You had previously been shown to your rooms the night that you stayed here before, so she's kept your same room, so you know how to get to them.
How sturdy is this door? Just
It's rated for
How
half a
bear-proof
bear.
does it look? Yeah. Yeah. So, once we've kind of finished eating, I will request some medical care from
Yeah,
Fionn.
sure. I will check and change bandages, and presumably otherwise you're okay because you've taken it easy. So I'll kind of reassure you of as much.
Well, does it still look okay?
Yeah, I'm assuming there's not some horrible infection, Johnny.
No,
when I
no, it's
check the
okay.
bandages. Okay.
Yeah.
those little worms oozing out of the skin.
Yeah, I know. I'll just look over and kind of grimace and say, "It'll be okay, Sophia."
Don't worry, these are the cleansing maggots.
The good humors.
Do you have anything else that you want to do before turning in?
Well, I guess in some ways our job is finished, you know, and I guess what Fulgur will be asking is, you know, what are the plans of the rest of the group? You know, I think I'm quite clear that I intend to see if there's any more I can do for the village and stay around. But if others, you know, it would be nice to know whether everyone else is planning on packing up and leaving this plague town or not.
I'm in agreement. Having seen the beast, I'm much more concerned. Whatever's going on here needs to be dealt with.
Oh, Ragnar will just sort of, look at Fionn and nod.
And Sophia?
Yes, I agree.
Then do we have any ideas of where to start?
I will
tending
do
for the sick could be something, you know, we can do many things, but where can we be of most use?
Well, I know what I can do. I will help Waylon as I can. That is my talent.
Yes, I'm not sure what I can offer beyond, well, I guess if others need restraining or animals go mad, then. But I will. Tell me what you need, and I will try to assist if I can.
Volga, I think it's a good idea for you to go and discuss, or at least see what's going on in the manor.
Certainly. Although I would be happy if any of you were to join. I could always do with another pair of eyes. I'm good in a tight spot, but sometimes I miss things. I know that.
I'm not going to be off doing anything too adventurous if you're just talking. I'm sure I can join for that.
Out of character, in terms of sort of social standing and just rocking up and talking to lords, how does that? Yes, given that, well, at least some of us are definitely commoners.
So yeah, does maybe my idea is that Fulgur is a part of the lower nobility. Does that have any kind of sway in terms of getting an audience places?
Certainly, in this instance, you would be fine, especially if you
just helped out the
showed up
town
gate
and-
without Fulgur, then. But certainly having Fulgur sort of make the introduction and the fact that you've helped the village, you would be able to get in, you think, probably without any issue.
Fulgur is great at buttering people up.
Soap and butter.
Soap and butter. The slipperiest of substances.
Well, if you need another, I'm happy to come along if I can be of assistance.
Well, perhaps the Lord will have some reward in mind. Or perhaps we can merely lend a hand. I think that would be good. A good place to start. Do you think it's I wonder who the Lord courted off.
I'm wondering as much. And
Well, I guess we'll never know.
well, if that's what you can find out, that would be most interesting. Must have come from somewhere. Where may you have been? What may you have done? Things like that would be most useful.
Do you think that would help?
I don't know what else would.
And Jonny, is it just this town that seems to have been affected by this illness that we know of?
Yeah, apart from obviously the bear was a relatively long way away from here.
Yeah. I haven't
So
heard.
probably at least 15 miles.
I don't know of any other towns. I've not come across this anywhere else on my travels, but that bear didn't originate here. That the Lord may not be the only source of this.
Are there any other Varigals who've been through the town recently? Have we news of other? It might be worth trying to hunt down news of other villages.
Have I seen any signs anywhere on my recent travels that would indicate? No.
No.
I wouldn't know, I'm afraid.
In the morrow, we could ask here, see if she has had anyone else stay over the past few weeks. Maybe knows something.
They'd know if a Varigal had been to town. But for now, I think I need more rest.
Yes, good plan. Are they individual rooms here, or is it like a shared bunk room or something, Jonny?
Because nobody else is here, you each have a room.
Very posh.
Wow.
Oh, if
Slumming it. I don't have two rooms. I'm joking.
If I have my own room, then I might be really cheeky and open the shutters to let Morag in.
Nice.
What if it's an avian flu?
Don't you dare.
Cool.
Well,
Heading to
I have
bed.
a lovely night's sleep.
Yeah.
So let's give Sophia 2 hit points left back for today's treatment and an overnight rest, which I think removes any penalties from her rolls.
I'm good again.
And let's leave it there for this week.
Excellent.
That's good.
Cool.
That was fun.
Yeah, fun.
Thanks, everyone. I hope
I
you've
love
all
the
enjoyed
escapism
session
that we
1.
get. Yeah, I love the escapism of a nice fantasy world with, you know, some sort of strange infectious disease. That's going around. This is great stuff.
Yeah. I'm having a difficult time. I'm having an interesting time. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But with like this 1 creativity and 2 in reason, I'm like having play character that has no individual ideas and can only ever serve. Like I'm trying to be like a kind of character where I only ever stumble onto the correct information by accident or by inspiring by saying something that's incredibly stupid that another character will go, you know what? There's an element of something intelligent in there. So I'm just like. So
the opposite of what you said. That must be it.
Yeah.
No, not quite like that, Fulgur. But if you took that into a different context, actually correct.
It's all right. You can just play Fulgur having lots of really bad ideas. That would count, right?
So, any questions or comments, please put them in the chat and we'll put them up on screen. I'll do the recap stuff. So, Monday nights are now Shadows of Esteren. We're back next week for session 2. Next Thursday, Matt's sprawling World of Darkness thing begins, which is very exciting. Which one's first? Werewolf?
Vampire.
Vampire. So Vampire starts next week. And then Wednesday's a Simba Room, and a week on Saturday, so the 6th is our June one-shot, which Chris is running. All going to be very fun. Please come join us on Discord if you're not already on the Discord, and chat to us about things, or on our Instagram or Twitter if you don't use Discord, I guess. And thanks for joining us for this first session. I've had fun. Hope everybody else has had fun. Let's chuck some things up on screen. I can do it now. Lord Malice, what? No cliffhanger? I know, I'm sorry. I can't really answer this fully without potentially spoiling something. So maybe after next week, I'll say.
Are we going to look back on this moment and realize it was a cliffhanger? We just didn't know it yet.
Yes, we're all infected.
I have a feeling it just took a little longer to get through this than intended.
No, I was a bit worried actually.
Okay.
For me, it was good. Yeah, I was quite happy with the amount gotten through. I think. It's interesting in the book because it's split into scenes and acts. So, it's. I'm not really sure what the length of each one is kind of meant to be, but I think I think it's relatively correct how much we got through in the time probably, and some nice new character interaction and mingling and stuff for the group, which is nice.
It'll take a little while for that to settle down.
It's weird having a new character, a new system, a new world. Like there's a lot of new stuff to kind of feel out and kind of get comfortable in the skin again of it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did enjoy this earlier when the bear attacked Sophia from John. Total party kill speed run.
I was pretty worried about it. I was like, oh Jesus, Inga's gonna get freaking mauled by this bear.
Yeah, I was so like, why is this armored knight standing behind the
Well, I was like, you know, shoot the volley. Either get away from the door or open the door. You have 2 options, and I was like Sure. I mean, like the volley's the first option. You fire the
It's all right.
volley, then you run in and stab it.
We'll say it's his lack of creativity. You know, he's not very flexible.
I'm not very flexible. I've got one plan. I do not. I've learned if you deviate from a plan too much, you end up getting stabbed. You know. So
Whereas if you stick
You
to
just-
it, someone else gets stabbed. It's all good.
yeah, choose one plan, stick with it.
I thought the fire
John's
was a great
comment-
idea, but
Yeah.
That was good.
yeah.
If it was a normal bear, it would have worked a treat.
Yeah. I did feel a bit mean when you pointed that out of character, but I also liked the idea actually that Theon would have been a bit mean in that moment.
Yeah, I like Theon being like, "You get out, Ragnar." Shout it off, Mike. Shout better. Do better at shouting.
Particularly given your backstory, as we said earlier, which is fun. So mean.
That comment from John closely followed by me asking what fighting attitude everybody wanted to take, and Lord Malice said, "I suspect Sophia will take the curl up in the fetal position stance." That was, yeah.
It was bang on. Yep.
It's always interesting with a new system, like the first hit. How much is 10
How much
damage a
damage?
lot?
Yeah.
Is that just a little? What you know?
Is it one of those role plays where one hit is you're dead? Is it one of those role plays where you can take 10 plus hits?
I kind of blanked in my head and for some reason defaulted to 5e and went, she's probably dead now. But the dice had spoken.
So you were prepared.
Joey, what would you
You
have
were
done if
prepared.
you'd killed her at the
Kill.
first attack?
Whatever.
That would be pretty good.
No, you get like a chance to rescue somebody if they hit the agony point, which is what you are when you're at.
Yeah.
basically
The point
run
there is,
out.
Johnny, it's a chance. You can still fail. It's quite
I love
likely
that.
you'll
I
fail. in
love
fact.
the idea that of the first scene is like, okay, it's a fight, and then immediately chaos erupts. Like Inga's guts are literally spilled over the floor of the temple. We're just
Not
screaming like,
Inga's.
she's gonna die.
I gotta really point out, not my guts, Sophia's guts. Real difference between
Sorry, yeah, my
players and
apologies. My
characters.
I also
Sophia's guts. We're just like, what do we do? This bear's gonna kill us all.
how did Johnny does the story if none of us ever make it to the village?
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's just
That was
all
good.
it's all narrative then for 7 more weeks. That's what would
Yeah.
happen.
Nice.
Lost in
And
the
just
wilderness.
quickly to immortalize my mistaken speaking forever. Thanks, 42.
It
Yeah.
was beautiful. It was
That was so
the longest no that turned into a yes.
No.
There's-
It's like
There's not much more of a 100% incorrect thing that you can say than saying yes and no the wrong way around, is there? But there we are.
Oh,
You did it
It
with
all worked out
panache,
okay
though.
in the end. Thanks.
Oh,
Wrote it
Steve,
out.
when you said I was waiting for the spooky dream, exactly the same here. I was like, it's ending on a night. We're gonna have the spooky. Ready for the spooky dream? It's like so used to Cthulhu.
No spooky dreams.
Yeah, where's the spooky dream?
I haven't written this, you see, so there's not enough spooky dreams in this for me. That's the problem.
Second
Everyone's
arc, just
spooky
wall to wall spooky dreams.
Yeah, there's gonna be a big difference.
Have we made it through to morning yet? There may still be spooky
Oh,
dreams.
true. Yeah, we might just all die.
Yeah.
Did you set your bear
Double
trap?
bear at every door.
Did you set your bear trap?
I didn't set the bear trap. Not this time.
Cool.
Right, thanks everybody. We will catch you all next week for more Bears and Bile, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. And don't forget Simba Room on Wednesday, and that's it before next time, isn't it? Yeah. Simba Room on Wednesday, and then us next Monday. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye.